Ladies and gentlemen, I haven't uploaded anything in about 4 or 5 days, and for that I want to apologize. Some stuff came up with school and various other things, and I was not able to do any of the reviews I had planned. But I'm back, and let's start off with this album that's been requested by quite a few people, as well as Cover Killer Nation on his live stream. He actually wanted to see what I think of this album. We've talked about Queensryche before in the past, and we talked about excuse me, we talked about Dedicated to Chaos, and I shared my opinion on the album. I did not think it was a good album. Many people don't really think it's a good album. It's actually the album that broke Jeff Tate away from Queensryche. But now, Queensryche has put out a new album, a Tateless Queensryche, I call it. This album's called Condition Human, and I had the chance to give it a listen. It's not as good as Operation Mindcrime and the classic Queensryche lineup, but it's far better than Dedicated to Chaos and even Jeff's Frequency Unknown, which was literally just to get back at the other Todd Latour's version of Queensryche. And this album really showed that Todd Latour can definitely bring this band back up, not to where they were many years ago, but pretty close. There were areas I felt could have been better, but it was decent altogether. We start with the song Arrow of Time. It's a decent song. The vocals shine quite well. It has much of an Iron Maiden resemblance, and it's got old school guitar melodies through the song, which I totally dig. Again, I've said before that intros to these albums are key, or the first songs are key. They give you an introduction as opposed to what you're hearing. It could be exciting or disappointing, but sometimes the first song doesn't exactly describe the whole album. Another song I'd love to point out is Guardian. It has a wicked lead and rhythm guitar combination throughout the song. It's a bit more of a heavier song than Arrow of Time. The drums throughout the song are pretty awesome. It's probably one of my favorite songs off this album, for sure. The lyricism is quite deep in the track too, and it's very well structured. It gets a bit more emotional after the guitar solo, but it eventually jumps back into what was going on before. And the ending to the song is a little bit surprising. There is a bit of a twist. I did not expect that at all. I will say the vocals generally on this album are pretty good. Hellfire is another epic track I recommend. It experiments with lots of wicked techniques on guitar. It gives you that awesome, aggressive mood through sporadic parts of the song. Now this is the part where I feel like there's areas that need improvement. One song I wasn't too crazy about off this album was Toxic Remedy. There were areas that definitely shined in the song, but there were areas that I felt needed improvement, once again, for sure. The chorus of the song, for example, I feel begins to grow a bit stale, while the guitar solo once again shines in the song. There are definitely areas that sort of give me that mixed feeling or uncertainty, whether it's good or not. There are obviously areas I don't really know how I feel about what I hear. One example of that song is Selfish Lives, which sounds quite good, but at the same time kind of stale compared to where we started in the album. I felt like the guitar solos are what really keeps me listening to this album through some areas, while the vocals shine in other areas that keep me listening well. Through areas that grow stale with the vocals, usually the guitar solos shine, and sometimes it's vice versa. The album really picks things back up, though, with the song I-9. I felt like this song gave the album a bit of excitement back by bringing back that heavier groove that the album started with. but it's also adding a very mythical presence in the vocals and some of the lead guitar for sure. The lyrical story in this album is quite emotional as well. I'm not going to get too in detail with the lyric interpretation. Um, I really like the song Bulletproof as well, especially the intro and the opening verse. It's one of those heavier ballads, although this sounds a bit more like a rock ballad. It's still quite the enjoyable track, much slower than majority of songs on this album. It's kind of a love ballad, which is a little. It's not very often you hear that in the metal universe, but uh, some metal bands are able to do it well. While some just don't have that in them. Finally, the song Hourglass brings the pace back up with a super heavy guitar riff and eventually incorporates that mix of hard and heavy with soft and emotional. The chorus didn't live up to expectations compared to the impression I got when the song started, though. Even after the first verse, but the lyrics once again are quite emotional. Um, Just Us was an interesting mix of various different moods and an interesting incorporation of different styles. Um, it's kind of another song I don't really know how I feel about. At this point, I feel the album does grow kind of stale, but we do end things with a couple enjoyable tracks for sure. Um, All There Was is a pretty good song, for example. Condition Human is really the one song that stands out at this point in the album. It's the only song on the album that's longer than about 4 or 5 minutes. But not just that, the lyricism in this song, as well as all of the instrumentation, I feel is more well put together and well structured in this song. It's another one of my favorites off of the album. Um, all in all, it was a decent album, but it did give me a mixed impression on it and brought me some mixed feelings on the album. Once again, I do feel there are areas that grow kind of stale, as I mentioned before, but all in all, this album is definitely better than Dedicated to Chaos, and it's still a good album for the Tateless era, or Queensryche. um, you know, well, yeah, once again, Todd Latour has shown that he can definitely bring Queensryche back up, at least a little bit. Um, but yeah, let's see what Jeff Tate's got put together to compete with this for sure. Because Frequency Unknown was not good competition with this album for sure. But yeah, once again, I apologize for that little hiatus I took. It wasn't really a hiatus, so just things came up that prevented me from doing these videos for a bit. If ever I'm gone for more than 2 or 3 days, it's usually because of school or some sort of family emergency. But thank you guys for watching. You guys, once again, are my creatures of the night. And rock on. Feel free to subscribe and check out more album reviews. And do comment any requests you have below, and I will gladly do them. I'm currently doing requests at the moment. I'm open to any requests for top 10s, album reviews, anything. But yeah, thank you guys for watching very much. Rock on, my creatures of the night.